Hi, my name's Key and this is our Camroad. It's a Toyota Camroad. So basically it's a Toyota Dyna truck, but it's got the Toyota reliable 3-litre engine. It's diesel. It's known to be quite a bulletproof engine, same one they use, I think, in the Land Cruiser. But anyway, basically this particular layout, we've got a seat across the front, kind of a bench seat and a driver's seat. The driver's seat has a little bit more leg room because the front seat moves back and forth, and there's 2 other seats. So if you've got 3 people in here, you can just flip that one up, and then you got 3 people across the front there. And then this particular one is a little bit unusual because we're actually licensed for 4 in the back as well. So technically we've got 7 in total that it seats in transit. So that all 4 have seat belts at the back, which are all approved as well. And then of course you've got on the right hand side here, there's another seat. It's actually 8 seats in total, but this one doesn't have a seat belt, so it's not actually legal for transit. You can just sort of sit back and, use the table and have an eat in here or whatever. We've done as much as we possibly can to do the upgrades in the van as possible. So we basically changed over all the electrics in here. Obviously these Camroads come from Japan, so pretty well built and pretty efficiently laid out. But the electrics were 110 volts. So it's been converted over obviously to 240 volts. Also the battery system in here is pretty big. So under the seat here, you shouldn't really have to go under here. Basically under there, we've got the 200 amp hour lithium ion battery setup, plus 400 watts worth of solar power on the roof. And generally between those 2, you've got enough power to pretty much do everything anyway. So the layout internally here, we've got a queen bed at the front here. This is basically it. So if you're like a family or something, I suppose the adults would probably more likely go up here. You've got a ladder that flips down when you need to get into bed. I should say it's a fraction shorter than your average queen bed, but it's slightly wider than your average queen bed. So look, it's up to you. Definitely for me, look, I'm about 176, 77. I find it like pretty comfortable up there. But if you're super tall, look, maybe you'd have to sort of go slightly diagonal, I guess. All of the windows that you see all around here, all closed, including the door as well. And you've got basically a full blackout type of situation. So you can put that up to basically completely black out all the light, or if it's a really hot day, you can also just put this fly screen. One thing we'll say is in transit, all of these windows have to be closed, so they're not rated, otherwise it could potentially like blow off or something like that. So before you take off, you got to make sure you basically close all of these latches around all the windows, make sure they're completely secured, and that's it. At the back, we have basically 2 bunk beds. So the back here, we've got basically 2 kids bunk beds here, or adults for that matter. Yeah, maybe if your partner's kicking all night, and just kick them in there instead. All of the bunk beds and the queen bed at the front all have these LED lights, so you can basically flick the switch for these lights here, and they're also above the kitchen and stuff like that. So it's sort of built in. Once again, all these windows have the same type of setup. You can pull the fly wire and or let some ventilation in. One thing in hot weather, highly recommend using this fan up here. A few ways you can set it. You can actually set it here, so at a certain temperature, well, it says 78 degrees Fahrenheit here, but basically if the temperature gets too hot, the fan will automatically turn on to start like taking air through. But just generally if it's hot, I just leave it on all the time. So it doesn't use that much power. One thing you will have to do is you have to turn this knob to open the fan. So basically that one there, so you turn anti-clockwise, and then you'll see that little lid lift up there. The only thing is you don't drive with that open. So before you get back in the car, this is one of the checks. You basically twist that down, close that up, and then turn the fan off when you're driving. That's it. There's quite a lot of overhead storage. So basically these overhead storage cabinets, you can put like maybe your towels or clothing in these types of overhead bits here. At the moment, we have all the kitchen stuff on this side above the sink. It comes included with sort of some basic kind of kitchen equipment like some coffee cups and spices and whatever. It also comes included with a fridge. The fridge is fully electric, so no gas or anything like that. You need to change any gas bottles. Basically this one here is pretty straightforward. You just lift that handle and then you pull the door up. So you got to make sure this is fully lifted up before you try to pull the door out, because it's got a little latch here to keep it closed in transit. So that one there, I think it's maybe about a 50-litre fridge or 60-litre, something in that range. Anyway, that's it there. Got under sink storage here as well. The other thing I should show you, this particular one has a German brand of diesel heater. This one's pretty good. And it absolutely cranks. So unless it's mega cold, like you're going up to the snow or something like that, you'll probably never need to use it on full bore. So I would basically just go on low. So this is the fan speed, and this is the thermostat temperature. So you just flick it on there. And honestly, I would never really go above like the second bar. Otherwise, it just gets so unbelievably hot. So I reckon just go like that, and that should be absolutely plenty in 90% of scenarios. Yeah, so you can just turn that one off there. These are also the switches for all the basically devices here. The stickers here are a little bit odd, but they kind of make a bit of sense. This one's for the rear lights above the bunk beds. This one's actually for the toilet. So just think of disabled toilet or something like that, I guess. That's why it's got the disabled sign there. So that basically lights the disabled. This is lights above the sink. So you can see that one going on off above. This is the tap water. So basically this one has an underfloor tank. And also this one is for that fan up overhead. So you have to basically make sure this switch is on so that fan up top works. All the AC outlets here, these ones basically go through the inverter. So if you want to use any of these AC outlets, either this one or even the outdoor one, or even the one which is back behind here, you have to turn the inverter on. This is like a remote switch for it. So the inverter just switches on with that one there. So it says Rhenology, just turn that on, and now the inverter's on. So really the only instance you're ever going to use up all the power is probably if you're doing stuff like drawing a lot through those AC outlets. The microwave doesn't draw too much, but if you start like, let's say, plugging in some electric frying pan and kettle and using it all the time, then you might be concerned about potentially running your battery out. But generally speaking, because of the size of the battery, it's pretty good for almost everything. When you first come in, yeah, you probably want to use these shoe storage. Basically, it is a shoe off van, so if you can, that'd be great. You can take them off, just so I don't get too much mud in the upholstery and whatever. I said open this one, a good place to store the shoes. Could actually even tuck them underneath the little step here when you first jump in there. And the front door as well, same thing with all the other doors. You've got fly screen like this, or if you want to completely black it out when you close the door, you just lift this thing up and that will completely black out the light coming in through the door as well. There's a little bit of storage under this seat. This is the only seat that you'll probably pull up. So this one here, if you lift that seat up, there's a bit of storage space there. So we usually use that as a second bit of a pantry kind of space. But pretty much, yeah, most of the storage is either overhead lockers or the under sort of cabin, areas where you can sort of put stuff as well. Let's have a look in the toilet. I'll show you that situation. The toilet is kind of like similar to a lot of other sort of camping setups, I guess. Just flick on that toilet light here. So basically we're like just a kind of like a portaloo type situation here. This one, if you guys use it at the end of your trip, you just have to make sure you empty it out. Otherwise, yeah, we will charge you to empty it if we do it for you. But like if you can, just empty that. It's a couple little small cords here, so you can hang stuff. This also makes up a really good room for drying stuff. So it's been really rainy or whatever, you're up in the snow or whatever, then basically you can just hang stuff there and dry it on those cords. And this becomes a little bit of a kind of a wet room. There's no shower in this particular van, but I have got a little bit of a setup so you can use it, like kind of make an outdoor shower if you really wanted to. There's enough stuff and hoses and stuff like that down below, which I'll show you, so you can set that up. So you notice when we give you the keys, there's two different keys here. There's one that says external storage and one says cabin. So all the ones that are kind of below floor level are the external storage keys. So I'm gonna grab that one. You know, open up these little keys. All these have these two keys like that. You open up this side and that side, I've already done it. And under here, the first thing you need to know is where your waste water is. So this is where the sink water goes. So every now and then you'll have to empty this out just by using this little blue tap off to the side here. So you can reach around here and undo that. And as you can see, I've got a little bit of wastewater in this tank. And basically just let that out. So where you're somewhere responsible, like a drain or something like that, and you just let it off, or some garden area. Now, when you're filling up the water, you've basically got some hoses which are underneath this sort of other hull over here. And what you can do is connect the garden hose, obviously where it says water in, that's the garden hose connection. So one thing is you have to plug the garden hose in here, and then secondly, just trace underneath here, and then you'll see this little tap, and then that's in the off position, and you need to just change that to on. So the reason why it's not on all the time is if you leave it on, your tank will just drain out as well. So only turn that on when you want to push water into the underfloor tank. So you just have to turn that valve on, plug in the hose and turn on the water supply. When you fill up the tank underfloor is about 30 litres, and once it's full, you'll see it starting to overflow and squirt water down onto the ground like that. So you hear that. So if you hear that overflowing, squirting on it, you know the tank's full, and that's it. Now the water out, on the other hand, that pump switch, which I showed you before next to the sink in the kitchen, that pressurizes this outlet here. I'm going to show that in 1 second. On the right-hand side of the door, this is where we've got the hoses. So basically you can open this up. There's a couple fairly long hoses just in case you're not very close to an outlet. So you've got this quite long one, and you got this fairly short one, and you've got this sprayer as well. So one thing you can do is basically plug in this bit here. So this is like a hose here, and you can plug this onto this outlet here. Now, when you got the water out, it's the same thing. You got this blue ball valve in there. So that one right back in there. I have to turn that one on as well. So now it's in the on position like that. And then you can see this garden hose thing now has water pressure. Oops, gotta turn on the pump in the sink. Okay, now it's got water pressure. So basically you turn that one on like that. You could use it for a bit of a shower, but with a 30-litre tank, you could use up your water supply pretty quickly. This one, we've also got the car jack under here. And under here we also have, so we've got the car jack on the right, we've basically got the car jack tools here, and there's also an air pump as well. So this one, if you needed to pump up the tyres, look, I generally try to do it at a gas station or something like that, but if in a bit of emergency, there's that one in there, so you could basically use that air pump. It's pretty efficient. It usually will fill one of the tyres in less than sort of a couple of minutes. Yeah, so you can basically use that. So this one here, probably wouldn't use that sort of emergency area too much. Next cabin along, we've got this external storage box where we keep some camping and cooking equipment in here. So just open that one up, and you can see in this bad boy, got some cooking equipment. There's like a little hatchet, little shovel if you really get stuck, or for shoveling coal or something like that. Some pots and pans. There's actually an induction cooktop as well, you might find pretty handy. Boiling water. There's also like cast iron Jaffa line, gas bottle, fire extinguisher, and that type of stuff in there as well. Obviously this is above the floor level. As I said, the above floor level is the cabin storage, so use these cabin keys. So that basically, these particular cabin keys, they have quite a tight door seal. So just when you're trying to open the key, push the door in slightly, and then the key will turn pretty easily. Open up that, and this is for storing long stuff. Maybe you've got a surfboard or something, you might want to put it in here. But basically you've got some camp chairs, camp table, you know, and some other sort of camping equipment you can use in there. It also gets to the bunk bed. So look, if you wanted a little bit extra ventilation, you could just open this door, and then that's actually the lower bunk that you can see there, just exposed when you open that door. So that's it. Then we've got the back of the van. There's rarely any reason to go up on the roof, except we do have a rooftop cage. If you needed to basically store, like, let's say a kid's bike or something like that, or a couple of bikes, you can chuck them in the cage and tie them down on the roof there. And there's some ropes under one of the storage cabs on the right-hand side here. Keep some ropes and tie downs and that type of stuff. Look, if the solar panel got really dirty for some reason or muddy, you may want to give it just a wipe down to make sure you're getting the full solar collection. So that is the same as the other side. So it gets into that under bunk storage area. So you can put stuff in that side as well. This gets you back into that bathroom area. So there's the other access side. So if it gets, really wet, you want to clean it out or whatever, you just open this door, get better access into the bathroom. So you got that there. And there's one more little storage area under here as well if you need to put some stuff away in there. It is a diesel engine, and also you got their 10 amp inlet side. So if you've got, there's also extension cables which come with the truck, but if you need to plug into grid power, let's say for a caravan park and they've got power, definitely worth plugging in that one so you're not consuming your battery, and then you can just use as much power as you want. Yeah, the fuel as well, diesel goes in here. So yeah, it is a diesel engine, so just make sure to only use diesel. Then you just basically undo that and you can fill it up. Yeah, with the front seat, this is what it looks like. We've kind of tried to fit it out as much with the standard USB Type-C charging points everywhere. So this one kind of like permanently zip tied to the right-hand side, so you can put it into the phone holder on the right there. We did upgrade also the head unit not that long ago, so it's got the Sony head unit there. This one has the Android Auto and also the Apple CarPlay, so it connects to both Apple and Androids, and also has the reversing camera as well to make it a bit easier to reverse. And it is, you know, pretty nice to drive, I would say. It's fairly powerful. For Camroads, this has the larger 3-litre diesel engine, so you find it pretty quick off the take. It takes off pretty quickly, so you shouldn't have any problems getting up hills or anything like that with this one. Now, there is some camp gear that comes already included with this. Obviously, we've got this table here. I'll show you how to set that up. It's pretty straightforward. Basically, this is the iron grill table. So you basically pull these legs up like that, and that extends the table to this type of height. We've also got these slots. Now these slots, oh sorry, not those ones, these ones here that make the tabletop, like that. And basically, you can also take this down to the beach or something like that if you really wanted to. Now you can either put all of these aluminium slots across the whole lot, like this, and lock them in place like that. Or you can actually use some of the accessories that also come with this as well. So for instance, there's a grill here, a charcoal grill. So this one is basically this stainless steel grill goes like that. And this one can drop into that section. So you can do your own little hibachi grilling. Now, probably wouldn't have massive fire in here or anything like that. But one thing you could do is use that shovel that's included. So basically you just use this shovel, have a fire, dig out some coals, dump them in here, and then you can cook some skewers or something like that. On top of the grill like so. That's kind of a pretty handy way to go. Also comes with some stools like this. You can sit around this and have a little you know, Japanese cooktop experience. Anyway, there's also a gas little burner as well. So that basically comes included too. And that looks like this. So if you're using the gas burner, you can close up another one of these holes in here, and then you can drop this burner in place instead. So that looks like this. And this gas burner can be used numerous different ways. If you're not using it with the table, you can actually also flip the legs out from the bottom of the gas burner like that, like so. And those legs allow you to just put it on the ground if you wanted to, I don't know, take it somewhere else or take it on a hike and use it for cooking. But for this particular setup, it can basically drop into the table, and this turns it into kind of like a cooking table, like that. And you'll also need to plug in the gas bottle. So this particular one uses these little gas disposables. So basically to get that on, you have to get this bit here. You put that together like that. Make sure to line up that plastic bit with the gate in top of the cylinder. And these can be purchased everywhere around Australia now. It's really easy to get these gas cylinders. So you basically just twist that into place like so, like that. Yeah, so just twist it clockwise, that's all the way on. And you'll hear a little sort of hiss as it fills the hose. And then when you've got that in place, yeah, you can basically just twist this knob to turn it on, like that. Once you hear the gas flow, just hit the piezo there. Now this one is really cranks. This is really, really powerful, I should say. So generally for most cooking, you'll probably use it halfway or right down the bottom of the knob. For larger stuff, you can flip these up as well. So you've got little like coffee maker, so that these sit inwards. But if you got like let's say a wok or a large frying pan, just flip these up like that. And that gives you a larger surface to support like a larger pot or anything like that. So that's it. That's how to use that one, and fairly easy to pack up and pack down. Look, if you need a little bit extra storage space, you've got wings on this table as well, so you can slot them in, and they go something like this, I think. So these just basically slide in like that, and you just extend that sort of table working surface a little bit as well. Now, if you're just setting up really quickly, let's say just stopping for lunch or something like that, there's a power point under here you can use just there as well. Obviously, once again, I have to turn the inverter on that switch I showed you before. So this one just pulls down like that. Then you've got a little table you can use out here. There's a little light switch under this little corner, so if you stop at night time, you can just turn that on. This is a table we use quite a lot when camping because it's so quick and easy to set up. And then when you're done, just lift those hinges in and turn the light off, of course, and then shut that and make sure to give it a good firm push. Make sure it clicks on both sides. And that's also, yeah, pretty useful. The other really handy thing about the Camroad is it fits into a standard car park. It's just over 5 meters in length, so no longer than, for instance, like a lot of station wagons or utes and stuff like that. Just remember the 3 meters height though. Because of the height here, you can't get into underground car parks, but certainly throughout the city and stuff like that, just regular car parks, supermarket car parks will be no problem. Just make sure you always check overhead that you're not gonna clip the top of an underground car park or anything. Well, that is it. Hope you guys like using the Camroad. You got any other questions, just send us an email or a message, and I'm more than happy to help you out if ever we can. Thanks.